Hi, welcome to Good Intentions and Bad Outcomes, a podcast about challenges and practices that you might encounter in the workplace, where good intentions have unintended and often unnoticed consequences. I'm Gino.
And I'm Wayne.
Welcome, Wayne. Every time we share a situation where that we or one of our listeners have seen in the workplace that is challenging in some way. We discuss the what and the why, and we try to come up with alternatives on the spot. So let's get started. Wayne, I believe that you're bringing the topic for today.
Yeah, I've got an interesting one that just came up. We completed one of our OKR courses recently, and one of the students in the class asked the same question I've heard over and over and over again. What's the difference between OKRs and KPIs? It happens all the time.
Right.
Um, so, good intention is that we want to measure something so that we could, see our progress or understand where we are or understand the system that's under measure. But the unintended consequence of measuring the wrong thing could be dangerous when it comes to setting your objectives and your goals.
Okay, so let's unpack that for a bit for now.
Sure.
So the challenge is like how are OKRs differently, or how the key results actually differently from the KPIs that I'm assuming many people know that are used in the industry, and using KPIs as key results. Why is that? Um, not the good intention, as you say, is like, well, if we're going to introduce this OKR thing that we're going to measure and follow up on and track anyways, why not include those other metrics too, right? Because
Yeah,
we have something we want
that's
to
right.
use it in our daily decision making. We want to put the effort in so that we actually have a dashboard or something that we can actually make it visible. Why would people need to go and look at different things? So that's kind of the intent, right? That's the intent behind it. And I mean, first sight, then kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But where does it go wrong way?
Well, it goes wrong because OKRs and KPIs are measurements for two different reasons. You're measuring things for um, different things you're trying to accomplish. So OKRs, when you're setting objectives and you're measuring the progress towards your objective, you're trying to do something new, something big, something that's in the future that you
Hmm.
haven't done yet, that you haven't got to. Whereas a KPI, a key performance indicator, is more about measuring what's happening in your system right now. It's a maintenance, a health of your business type of measurement, and it's often based on things that happened in the past. So you're really using measurements. You're using the numbers for two different reasons. How are things happening right now, and am I getting closer to a future goal?
It sounds like what you're talking about is a distinction between business as usual and new initiatives, where new initiatives are things that we've never done before. They require some follow up and working through it. And then the business as usual is just keeping the lights on, if you will. It's not very exciting necessarily, but definitely it's necessary to make sure that we don't kind of regress and 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 yeah and have lowering performance without noticing, right? So we want to keep an eye on those,
Yeah.
but that seems to be the distinction that you're making here, Wayne.
Yes, I'll make one other distinction that might help us to differentiate between one and the other. When you've got an OKR, you're thinking about a future goal, a future state, something big that you're working towards. It's all future based, and eventually you're going to get to that goal. You're going to accomplish the thing, and you're going to be happy with what you've done, and it will come to an end. So it's like a goal that you have reached and stops. And when it stops, you stop measuring. You don't, you've reached the goal. Why bother measuring anymore?
Right.
Whereas a KPI is more of a constant state. It's a system that is running and will continue to run. It'll continue to run forevermore. And you want to maintain that system. You want to keep it running. You want to keep it healthy. So your measurement will not end. And that's one way to kind of think about the difference between the two. An OKR will be achieved or abandoned at some point, and we'll stop measuring it. KPI, just
Yeah.
keep on going with it.
And we'll talk in a second about situations where KPIs might be valuable to introduce in your OKRs, temporarily at least. So we'll talk about that in a second. But first want to go to something else. So when we are working with OKRs, one of the reasons why we are doing this is because we want to align on what is important for our organization. We want
Right.
to align with everyone in our team on how to assess our decisions, what decision to make based on the impact that they have on, call it, the bottom line for our objectives, for our outcomes that we are trying to achieve. So what we're doing there is we're setting up a structure and a communication mechanism and an assessment method, if you will, to allow people in the team or individual teams in a larger team of teams or organization to autonomously make decisions that are in line with the agreed upon target goal. Target is bad choice of words here, but with the agreed upon goal that we're trying to achieve. And that's really what you're trying to do. Now, that's not what KPIs are for at all, right?
No.
That's not that inspirational piece. That's not that that enabling autonomous teams and autonomous decision making, prioritization. None of that is driven by KPIs. None of that is supported by KPIs. It is indeed KPIs are, if you will, a way to be signaled that something is wrong or that something is interesting at the very, very least. It's possible that your KPIs are that there's an anomaly that is not wrong, that is not going down, but that's going up. Then you want to understand where that comes from as well, so you can potentially use that for future decision making. So it is a way to get early signals, early feedback. That's really what your KPIs are. Your key results are a way to see if the actions that you are taking are actually getting you closer to the objective that you had agreed upon with your team. Is that a good summary, Wayne?
Yeah, it's a good summary. I like to think about it this way with the metaphor of driving a car. You've got your GPS and a destination that you want to reach. The GPS is going to tell you when you should need to turn the steering wheel, turn a corner, take a road. It's very directional, so it helps you get to where you're going. And it gives you feedback that you need to make decisions about how you're navigating your car. Whereas the dashboard may tell you, say, when to change the oil, how much gas I have left, what my engine speed is. And you need those things to keep your car going, and you want to have them, but they're giving you different information for a different reason. It's more of a maintenance of the system.
Right. So two completely different audience, two completely different purposes, and as a result, warrants two completely different ways of tracking it. Okay.
Now, so
go ahead.
The confusion comes in because sometimes the things that we measure, the numbers, are the same things. We just measure the same things for different reasons, and we often get the reasons mixed up. So, what kinds of problems do you think might come about if we're measuring a KPI type measurement and thinking that it applies to our objective that we're working towards in the future? Like, what's the problem with doing that?
Well, it kind of depends. I see two situations, right? I see one where it is a problem and one where it actually is not. Let's say, for instance, that there is no intent for us to change our KPIs or to change the targets in our KPIs or what we consider the range in which this KPI is healthy. There is no intent for us to change that. Then it should not be included in the key results because of all the things that we've said in the past.
Sure.
Now, when, let's say, we suddenly want to do something else and we have a target and we say, like, okay, hang on, we historically have measured this KPI or considered this KPI to be healthy when it's between 50 and 60% or 50 and 55, whatever it is, right? Whatever the ranges that you feel comfortable with. But maybe we say, you know what, instead of, let's say it's a success rate of something, and I hope really that it's more than 50%, but let's say for the sake of conversation that it's somewhere around there. Let's say, like, you know what? We want the success rate of certain activities to be well beyond 70%. So we're aiming for 75, between 75 and 85%, and we're going to take specific action to make sure that our success rate, instead of historically being between 50 and 60, goes to 75 and 85%.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it is very valuable to temporarily add the KPIs to your key results,
Right.
because that is one that you want to impact. That is one for which you need to make decisions about what you are going to do to make that happen, about which actions are going to contribute more to an increase in that success rate versus actions that will not impact it, right? So that's where it might be valuable, in my opinion, to bring temporarily a KPI into the fold and to assess it as one of the key results.
That's right. I think what you're describing there is when you transform an unhealthy KPI into an OKR. Work on it for a little bit,
Correct.
right? So unhealthy KPI
that's another
can
reason
become
for
an
it.
OKR. That's
Correct.
right.
Yeah, that's another reason for it, where you see like it's unhealthy. Now let's bring it back to where it should be, right? So, but I also see, and I think maybe some of our listeners might be wondering, but hang on, do we need multiple dashboards if we have KPIs and OKRs that are used by different audiences and that are used for different purposes? I'd say that's up to you, right? Personally, I don't see a problem with having a dashboard that has KPIs and OKRs on it. But what you will typically see is that the KPIs that are on that dashboard will be the same year after year, month after month, while the OKR and the key results that you're tracking that are just part of the same dashboard because you happen to know the place that you need to go to see what the numbers are, those key results should change regularly. Should not just the number that needs to change, but also what is tracked and what we're measuring should change, because our objectives need to change. If they're not, then our objectives are too big. We don't see any progress. Name it, all of the other things that if we haven't talked about them in the past, that we will for sure in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what you're getting into too is the fact that when we use a system state, a constant state measurement to measure our reach towards a future goal, we end up diluting the goal. The goal becomes ordinary. The goal becomes something that's happening every day, and all of a sudden it's not a goal anymore. So we really risk the unintended outcome is deflating your goals by using KPIs, right? So use the number if the number makes sense for your objective, but use it in the objective context that you're working towards this future thing that you'd like to do.
And the result of deflating that goal, and we're using that sometimes in our intentional agility classes too, is that you're losing focus, that you're no longer deliberately working towards them. And that's really the unintended consequence that you are you're having here. So again, just to summarize this all, we want KPIs and OKRs to be tracked differently. KPIs to be tracked for operational things that are important to keep the lights on, business as usual. We want key results to track the progress towards our objectives that are transformational, that are growth oriented, that enable our teams to make decisions related to which actions to prioritize over others, because they have an impact on those key results, and as a result, on the outcomes that we are trying to achieve.
They're also future facing and time bound.
There you go.
Right.
Time bound. Well,
time bound. Yes.
So our podcast is time bound too. We always try to stay under the 15 minutes, which we're fast approaching. So that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. And if you have a situation at work in the past or now that you feel has unintended bad outcomes or bad consequences, please let us know, and we might discuss it in one of our future sessions. Wayne, thank you so much. It was a pleasure as always.
Thank you, Gino. Nice to see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.